Hi, I'm Charles, and you're watching The State of the Republic. This week began with the end of the altogether brief government shutdown that occurred over the weekend, with Democratic Senate Minority Leader Ed Guy admitting even he is not completely sure what's going on here, Chuck Schumer striking a deal with Republican Senate Majority Turtle and Emperor Palpatine wannabe Mitch McConnell. Democrats got 6 years of funding for the Children's Health Insurance Program, a formerly bipartisan program that provides health care to 9 million poor kids, and a promise for Mitch McConnell to consider a bipartisan bill on immigration. So they just got CHIP funding, because we all know what worth McConnell's promises are worth. Republicans got a 3-week continuing resolution that kicks the can for the next possible government shutdown until February 8th. So, yay bipartisanship. Democrats were originally aiming to shut down the government in order to push for protection from deportation for recipients of the Obama-era program Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. As a reminder, neither the Children's Health Insurance Program nor Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals would have been an issue if Republicans had simply done their jobs. CHIP was allowed to expire last year by the Republican Congress, as they were too busy trying to destroy our nation's healthcare system and pass a tax cut for the rich to worry about things like healthcare for children. And DACA was rescinded by our nation's least favorite racist tangerine, Donald Trump. The Democratic base is not terribly pleased that Minority Leader Schumer was willing to give Republicans the votes to end the shutdown, and Senate Democrats have unfortunately withdrawn their demand that any budget deal should include a DACA fix. However, Democrats and Republicans are increasingly close to a bipartisan budget deal on other matters, namely the budget. Democrats and Republicans are currently working to lift the spending caps imposed during the Obama administration during negotiations with then Speaker of the House John Boehner at the behest of the Tea Party caucus, with Republicans calling for more defense spending in excess of the caps, and Democrats calling for more domestic spending in excess of the original caps. And Schumer has since withdrawn an offer that he made during the lead-up to the shutdown of increased funding for Trump's proposed border wall that he made in order to try to avert a possible shutdown. Polling strongly indicates that Republicans took most of the blame for the shutdown, with either the Republicans in Congress or Donald Trump himself taking the blame over congressional Democrats by more than 10 points. White House Chief of Staff, and man who's absolutely certain we're going to get Iraq right this time, John Kelly, whom reports indicate shot down the deal made by Schumer and Trump to try to avert the shutdown as being too liberal, is reportedly now on his way out. Kelly was brought in last year to try to impose some sort of order in the White House, a task at which he has had mixed results at best, I suppose. And the search for his replacement is currently being spearheaded by Donald Trump's secret crush, Ivanka Trump, his daughter. Yes, we remember how Donald Trump wants to screw his daughter. The administration has recently proposed a racist immigration plan that would cut immigration by nearly 1/2 in exchange for a possible compromise on DACA, mostly at the expense of other immigrants of color who are not DACA recipients. The plan would trade a path to citizenship for DACA recipients in exchange for the end of family reunification in immigration, a cornerstone of modern American immigration policy since the 1965 Immigration and Naturalization Act, a massive increase in the amount of immigration and customs enforcement agents, and also further enforcement operations in interior deportations, meaning that they're going to seize up everyone and anyone anywhere. And on top of that, $25 billion for Trump's stupid wall. Trump is also supposed to give his first State of the Union address this coming Tuesday. Just a note, Trump's congressional address last year was not technically a State of the Union, so this is technically his first State of the Union address. He's anticipated to announce an infrastructure plan worth $200 billion that will be a massive opportunity for privatizers to profit off the public interest. Democrats have been calling for a over $1 trillion infrastructure plan instead. But Trump is proposing a more private sector-oriented plan, so, get ready for more toll roads is the point. But don't worry, the media will give him plenty of credit, so long as he doesn't start giving actual Nazi salutes during the middle of the damn thing. They have to, be both sides and everything. Several major Trump appointees were also confirmed recently. Former pharmaceutical executive and doctor with a terrible, terrible secret, Alex Azar, was confirmed to lead the Department of Health and Human Services after the resignation of the previous secretary, and man indicating the sides of his conscience, Tom Price, was ousted for misuse of government resources, namely for personal travel. Like, he used government resources a lot for private travel, like private jets and stuff. On the other hand, Governor of Kansas, and man tired of people making jokes about his name, Sam Brownback was confirmed as the U.S. Ambassador at Large for Religious Freedom, a position which I'm not completely clear why doesn't violate the First Amendment. The whole, Congress shall establish no law with regard to an institution of religion thing. In related news, Bernie Madoff has been nominated by the Trump administration to head the National Board for the Prevention of Ponzi Schemes. In somewhat less worrying news, Jerome Powell was confirmed to lead the Federal Reserve on a mostly bipartisan vote. Powell has vowed to continue the policy and legacy of current Fed Chair Janet Yellen, who Trump has ousted for no particular reason other than the fact that she was appointed by Obama, and the fact that she's a woman. That probably also is a factor. Pennsylvania Republican Congressman Patrick Meehan is facing a scandal relating to sexual harassment settlements paid out by his office. Speaker of the House, an alien trying to blend in, Paul Ryan, has arranged for Meehan's position on the Congressional Ethics Committee to be removed. Meehan was previously, apparently, a leader in the crusade against sexual harassment in Congress, which is ironic, to say the least. Trump's scandals involving porn star Stormy Daniels could have also violated federal election law, as the $130,000 payoff can be considered an in-kind donation to the Trump campaign. Furthermore, evidence indicates that the money for the payoff may have come from the Trump campaign itself, as around the same time, the Trump campaign issued a $130,000 disbursement to Trump's businesses. So make of that what you will. Democrats have their own worries, though, in terms of scandals, with New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez. The Justice Department recently announced that they will be retrying Menendez's corruption probe this year. It should be noted, however, that Menendez's last trial ended in a mistrial after a deadlocked jury. A jury deadlocked 10-2 in favor of acquittal. And a federal judge has already thrown out 7 of the 18 counts against Menendez and his co-defendant. Meanwhile, on the electoral front, Republicans are throwing massive amounts of resources into the March 13th special House election for Pennsylvania's 18th district. The district was vacated after pro-fetus Republican Congressman Tim Murphy was caught having an affair and then pressuring the woman involved to get an abortion. Republican outside groups are making significant ad buys in the district, and multiple prominent national Republicans are expected to campaign for the Republican candidate. Democrat Connor Lamb is, however, receiving national party support. Pennsylvania was also in the news this week thanks to their state Supreme Court, which ruled that their state's gerrymandered congressional map violated the state constitution and would have to be redrawn ahead of the 2018 midterm elections. The GOP-controlled state legislature will have to submit a new map to be signed by Democratic Governor Tom Wolf by February 15th. If the governor and the state legislature fail to reach an agreement by the deadline, the courts will withdraw the map under a special master. Thanks to the fact that this case was based on a state constitution, a federal appeal to the Republican-controlled Supreme Court of the United States should be impossible, although that probably won't stop Republicans from trying to pull some nonsense from where the sun don't shine to stop this decision. In other news about Republican machinations against democracy, Trump's now defunct Voter Fraud Commission was revealed recently to have requested flagging of Latino-sounding names on Texas voter records. I'm sure they were just compiling that information so they could send everyone on that list a fruit basket. After all, aren't Republicans the party of non-racist people? Or at least that's what they keep telling us. The Koch network is planning to spend $400 million this midterm cycle, with $20 million to promote the Republican tax bill alone. In related news, RNC finance chair and guy trying to win a competition for the biggest user of bronzer in America, Steve Wynn, stepped down from that position after revelations about sexual assault and possible rape. Naturally, Republicans have not made any indication that they will return his money or give it to a charitable organization, like they demanded of Harvey Weinstein's donations to the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, Montana became the first state under the executive order of Democratic Governor Steve Bullock to try to implement state-level net neutrality rules after FCC chair and Comcast Employee of the Year, Ajit Pai, held a vote to eliminate the consumer protections. The Russia scandal also continued to expand. FBI Director Christopher Wray reportedly threatened to resign after administration officials pressured him to fire FBI officials that have fallen out of favor in the administration, in particular Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who Trump asked about his vote in the 2016 election. In related news, special counsel and man trying to figure out what to order at Arby's, Robert Mueller, his team recently interviewed Attorney General and demagogic leader of the Lollipop Guild, Jeff Sessions, about his role in the scandal and subsequent cover-up. Sessions previously met with Russian ambassador and man indicating how many cookies he wants, Sergei Kislyak, meetings he then lied about to Congress during his confirmation hearing. In 2017, Sessions participated in the process to fire then FBI Director and tree that escaped the D.C. Botanical Garden, James Comey, a clear act of obstruction of justice that Trump confessed to in an interview with Lester Holt. Sessions has most likely turned state's evidence, as Sessions conducted the interview with Mueller's team without an attorney present, something that would be extremely ill-advised without some sort of legal deal in place. Both Comey himself and former Acting Attorney General Sally Yates have spoken with Mueller's team. Yates, of course, was fired by Trump after she warned the White House about the vulnerabilities of now former National Security Advisor and Disney villain Michael Flynn, who himself has since cut a deal with Mueller. Director of National Intelligence Dan Coates and CIA Director Mike Pompeo have been interviewed as witnesses relating to the firing of Jim Comey. In more obstruction of justice news, Trump apparently tried to fire Mueller last June, but was forced to back off after White House counsel and D.C. version of Saul Goodman, Don McGahn, threatened to quit. Such a move constitutes another obstruction of justice from this administration related to the Russian scandal. Former Trump campaign aide and world's saddest Little League coach Rick Gates is also likely seeking a plea bargain deal. There was also news regarding former Trump foreign policy aide and exotic dish ordered in a country whose name you can't pronounce, George Papadopoulos, who flipped for Mueller last year. His fiancée stated that he was the John Dean of the Russia investigation. Dean, of course, was involved in the Watergate scandal in his role as White House counsel, and famously flipped and was a key witness for government investigators. Recent court filings have also indicated that federal authorities may have had an informant in the office of former Trump campaign manager and style consultant for the Russian mob, Paul Manafort. The revelations came to the fact that Manafort's attorneys apparently decided to accidentally file the wrong paperwork at a federal court. Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee are now pushing to share Trump's son and strong competitor for title of stupidest Trump family member, Donald Trump Jr.'s testimony to Mueller. Former Vice President Joe Biden confirmed this week that McConnell was the one blocking Obama from warning the American public about Russian interference. Obama attempted to have a bipartisan conference on the matter, which McConnell blocked. Mueller is also gearing up for a direct interview with Trump himself, and Trump managed to agree to talk with Mueller under oath. In a press conference, Trump attorney and conductor on America's first transcontinental railroad, Ty Cobb, predictably tried to walk back his client's stupidity. Republicans have noticeably increased their misinformation campaign to try to cast doubt on the Russia investigation. Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and guy who just realized he's going to die in prison, Devin Nunes, is screaming about a supposed memo about made-up FBI bias against Trump. Senator from Wisconsin and America's highest-ranking House plant, Ron Johnson, managed to turn a joke in between FBI employees into revelations about a secret society. Allegations he was forced to roll back immediately after people actually looked into them. Both of these nonsensical efforts have received support from both the White House and Russian bots online. In possibly related news, a federal judge has ruled that the companies of Trump's son-in-law, White House advisor, and love child of Patrick Bateman and a bucket of milk, Jared Kushner, will have to disclose their business partners. Kushner and his companies are under a myriad of separate investigations that may end up linking back to the Russia scandal. Finally this week, we have a warning about the dangers of the fascistic and un-American views that Trump has espoused. Recently, a Trump supporter was arrested for making terroristic threats against CNN. This sort of behavior, along with the attack in Charlottesville and the recent arrest of a white supremacist terrorist on a train in Nebraska, is exactly what kind of behavior Trump has encouraged in his rhetoric. We must stand against these kind of terrorists, and we must not give in. We must not allow these un-American fascists to take over this country. Thank you for watching the program. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more interesting content.